I was putting on my best dress for dinner at my daughter's house. Tonight was special because we were celebrating her new art gallery opening. My phone buzzed with a message from my lawyer David. "Call me right now. Something about Lucy." My hands started shaking. I pressed his number quickly. What he told me about my daughter made my heart stop. You will not believe what she had been hiding from me. Before we continue, first let me thank you for watching Granny's Voice. Please subscribe and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We might give you a shout out in our next video. Today's special shout out goes to Kobu from Uganda. Thank you for being part of our family. Now, let me tell you everything. I was choosing which earrings to wear when my phone rang again. Call me this second. Emergency about Lucy Miller. My jewelry box fell from my hands. 25 years of watching my daughter become a successful artist, and I had never heard David sound so worried about her. I dialed before putting my earrings down. "Margaret." His voice was serious and cold. "I need to tell you something important. Lucy filed papers to take control of your bakery business. She wants you to stop working because she thinks you are too old." The words felt like cold rain on my face. "What are you talking about? That cannot be true. She is my daughter. She has other people helping her. They say you cannot make good choices anymore because you are too sad and stubborn." I sat down hard on my bedroom chair. Through my window I could see the town square where my bakery had served families for 30 years. The same view I watched every morning while baking bread for people I loved like my own children. How much time do I have? Court hearing next Monday. We must work fast now. My mouth felt dry like flour. Next Monday. Margaret, she has been planning this for many weeks. She has lots of papers and documents. Pictures of you looking tired at work. Stories from people who say you forget things. I walked back and forth between my dresser and the window. Raindrops on the glass looked like the tears I wanted to cry. What kind of stories? People saying you mix up orders sometimes. That you cry when you talk about your husband Robert. They say you cannot think clearly anymore because you miss him too much. That is not fair. But even when I said it, I wondered if maybe I had been more forgetful lately. Had I really mixed up the Petersons' anniversary cake order last month? I know it is not fair, but they have papers, Margaret. Lots and lots of papers. My bedroom felt too small suddenly. Pictures of Robert and me at the bakery opening. Photos of Lucy learning to frost cupcakes. Everything I built could disappear because my own daughter thought I was too weak to keep it. Who else knows about this? The court papers are secret for now, but the people she asked to help her are meeting tomorrow morning. I held the phone tighter against my ear. She told them I would give them more money if they helped her take over the bakery. She promised them Lucy would run things better and make more money for everyone. The hurt in my chest felt worse than any physical pain I had ever felt. Lucy, my sweet artistic daughter who I taught to measure ingredients and roll dough. But not like this. Never like this. What do you need me to do? Everything. Bank records and doctor notes proving you can think clearly. People who will say good things about you. We are building your defense in 7 days. I closed my eyes tight. 2 days ago I was planning to teach Lucy my secret recipe for chocolate croissants. Now she was trying to take away everything I loved. "Margaret, are you still there?" "I'm here." My voice sounded strange and far away. "Set up whatever meetings you need. I will cancel my other plans." "Perfect." "And Margaret, do not talk to her about this yet. We need to understand her plan first." After hanging up, I sat in the growing darkness. The town below looked peaceful, but the warmth had left my heart and my home. I gathered my purse and car keys slowly. The same things I grabbed every day for 30 years, but everything felt different after one phone call. The elevator in my apartment building moved down quietly. 3 floors down, my legs felt weak and shaky. In the parking area, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, trying to understand what was happening. Lucy was making dinner for her family tonight. Our weekly tradition every Friday. Should I go and pretend nothing was wrong? The thought of sitting at her table making happy conversation while she planned to hurt me felt impossible. But maybe I needed to look at her face and try to understand who my daughter had become. I started my car and drove through the quiet evening streets heading toward Lucy's neighborhood, toward answers I was scared to find. Lucy's apartment door opened before I could knock. She stood there in her pretty blue dress with a smile that looked practiced. "Mom, you are right on time." Her hug felt different somehow. "Come inside. It is getting cold out there." I looked at her face, carefully searching for clues about what she was really thinking. I found nothing but smiles. "Emma has been talking about Grandma all day." Lucy led me through her hallway. "She made you a card at school today." The apartment smelled like roasted vegetables and something I could not name. I followed her into the small kitchen where Mark was stirring soup on the stove. He looked up with nervous energy in his eyes. "Margaret, so wonderful to see you." His handshake felt too long and too tight. "Can I pour you some tea? Or maybe something else?" "Sounds lovely." I watched Lucy move around her kitchen, quick and controlled, like she was performing in a play. Emma ran in wearing her school clothes covered in glue and glitter. "Grandma." I picked her up, easily grateful for something real and honest in this house of secrets. "What is this about a card?" "It is you and me at the bakery. See, that is you mixing dough and that is me helping." She showed me a folded paper with crayon drawings. Stick figures in what looked like my bakery aprons. Sweet and trusting, everything her mother was not being right now. "It is beautiful, honey." I kissed her forehead while Lucy watched us. Something quick passed across her face. Maybe guilt or maybe planning. "Emma, wash your hands for dinner," Mark said, his voice too cheerful and loud. Lucy moved between refrigerator and counter with smooth movements. "Mom, you look tired. Maybe you should rest more and work less." The question had hidden meaning. I looked straight at her. "Work keeps me healthy and happy. By the way, how are things at the art gallery?" She stopped stirring soup for a moment. "Let us not talk about work during dinner time." "Since when?" I kept my voice light and friendly. "You usually love telling me about your paintings and customers." "Not tonight," she said, turning back to the stove. "Family time is special and important. Special like honesty used to be between us." Mark cleared his throat loudly. "Emma made that card during art class today. She has been asking when she can visit the bakery again." "Maybe next week," I said, wondering if I would still have my bakery next week. Emma climbed into her special chair at the table. "Grandma, can you tell me the story about when you started baking?" "Which story, sweetie?" "When you and Grandpa Robert opened the bakery together." I looked at Lucy. She was cutting bread with very careful movements. "That was before your mommy learned to walk. We had nothing but mixing bowls and big dreams." "And Grandpa helped you make the first wedding cake," Emma added. The knife stopped moving. Lucy's back got stiff and straight. "Yes," I said quietly. "Grandpa Robert helped with everything until he went to heaven." Quiet filled the room. Mark turned on soft music, something calm and peaceful. Dinner went on with fake happiness. Emma talked about her friends at school. Mark discussed his new job at the bank. Lucy asked polite questions about my health and sleep and whether I was eating enough vegetables. Every word felt like she was studying me for weaknesses. "The soup is delicious," I said. "Robert's favorite recipe." Lucy's voice had a sharp edge. "He always said cooking was about making people happy, not about being perfect." Another sentence with hidden meaning. Robert had said that when he wanted me to spend less time worrying about the bakery and more time enjoying life with family. He was smart about many things. Yes, he was. Lucy's spoon clicked against her bowl. He understood what was really important. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Emma looked back and forth between us, feeling something was wrong. "Grandma, why do you look worried?" "Children always know when adults are upset." "I'm not worried, honey. Just thinking about nice things." "About what?" "About how much I love our Friday dinners together." Lucy's eyes met mine across the small table. For just a second, I saw the little girl who used to stand on a stool beside me learning to crack eggs. But that moment went away quickly. "More tea?" Mark asked, reaching for the pot before I could answer. The evening moved slowly forward. Dessert and coffee. Emma showing me her school homework. Normal family things hiding something terrible underneath. At 8:15 I stood up to leave. "Thank you for dinner. It was perfect as always." Lucy walked me to the front door. "Mom, are you sure you feel all right? You seem different tonight." I studied her face carefully. The worry looked real and honest. Maybe it was real. Maybe she had convinced herself this was the right thing to do for my own good. "I feel fine, sweetheart. Just thinking about how much the bakery means to me and to our family." Something changed in her expression. Like a wall going up to protect her. "Drive carefully, Mom. The roads look slippery tonight." I kissed her cheek softly. She did not pull away, but she did not lean closer either. "Good night, Lucy." "Good night, Mom." The door closed behind me with a quiet sound. I stood on her apartment steps with rain starting to fall again. Through the window I could see her washing dishes, moving efficiently and methodically while planning to take away everything I had worked for. I parked by the lake where Robert and I used to feed ducks together. City lights reflected on the dark water like scattered diamonds. My hands shook as I called David again. "Margaret, how did dinner go?" Like watching a play where everyone knew their lines except me. Rain tapped on my windshield. "Tell me what else you found." She has been planning this for 4 months. She has records of times when you seemed confused or emotional at the bakery. "What times?" "I have always been professional with customers. The Williams wedding, when you cried during their cake consultation because it reminded you of your own wedding day." She wrote it down as unstable behavior that scared customers. I remembered that appointment. I had been happy for them, not unstable. There was a big difference between joy and confusion. What else did she write down? Business decisions she calls stupid and emotional. The free birthday cakes for children whose families have no money. The employee lunch program where you buy food for your workers. Things that cost money but make people happy instead of making profit. My throat felt tight and sore. Those were kind decisions that helped people. I know they were, but she is calling them proof that you cannot think about money correctly. I started my car, needing to move and drive somewhere. What happens next? Hearing this Friday. If she wins, she gets to control the bakery while you take tests to prove you can think clearly. And if I say no, the people who gave her money can vote you out anyway. She has enough supporters now. I drove through empty streets thinking about how carefully my daughter had planned to destroy everything I built with my own hands. Not just attacking me, but tearing down 30 years of work with cold calculation. At home, I climbed upstairs to my sewing room where I kept my most precious things. 30 years of memories covered every surface. Awards from the Chamber of Commerce. Photos of wedding cakes I had made for 3 generations of families. I opened my memory box and pulled out Robert's love letters. The ones he wrote when the doctors said his heart was getting weaker. "Margaret, you spend more time at the bakery than with Lucy. She thinks work is more important to you than she is." I had ignored Robert's worry then. Lucy was successful and independent and doing well in life. How could she think I did not love her enough? But that doubt had apparently grown into something much worse. I found the photo album marked Lucy's childhood. School pictures, report cards, photos from bakery events where she stood beside me covered in flour and smiling. When had that happiness turned into anger and resentment? My computer made a sound with an email from David. Legal documents about Lucy's official complaint filled with accusations and suggestions for medical tests. Subject shows increasing forgetfulness and attachment to old-fashioned business methods. Her refusal to accept modern bakery practices suggests memory problems or sadness following husband's death that affects her thinking. Sadness following husband's death. They were using Robert's passing away against me. Using my grief as proof that I could not think straight anymore. I made tea and kept reading. People who would testify that my judgment was getting worse. Business experts who would argue my decisions were based on feelings, not facts. Medical doctors prepared to say I needed help and supervision. A complete attack on my character disguised as concern for my well-being. The plan was smart and it hurt deeply. At midnight I closed the laptop and sat in darkness. Rain continued against my windows. The house felt huge and empty without Robert. His photograph smiled from my nightstand. He had known this day might come, had tried to warn me about it. She does not understand why you love the bakery more than her. But I never loved the bakery more than Lucy. I had built it for her, for our family's future. Every early morning, every missed school play, every tired evening had been for them. Somehow I had failed to show Lucy that my hard work was love expressed in the only way I knew how. Now she was speaking a different language. The language of business fighting and legal battles. And she had learned it very well. Too well for my comfort. I opened my notebook and started writing names. Friends who might help me. Ways to prove I could still think clearly. Methods to show her case was wrong. If Lucy wanted to fight me, she would get a fight. But she had made a mistake. She had underestimated her opponent. I had not built Miller's Bakery by giving up when things got hard. I had built it by being smarter than my problems. Morning was still hours away, but I felt something new growing inside me. Not just hurt or anger, but planning and purpose. My daughter had declared war on everything I had created, everything I was. Time to remind her who taught her how to be strong and determined. The courthouse elevator moved up slowly and steadily. I held my purse containing 2 weeks of evidence and proof. Time to stop just defending myself and start fighting back. David Wilson's law office was on the 15th floor. Same building as the courthouse, different view of everything else. His secretary smiled and waved me through. "He is waiting for you, Mrs. Miller." David looked up from legal papers, reading glasses balanced on his nose. 40 years of friendship showed in those kind brown eyes. Margaret, perfect timing. I was just reviewing what we need to discuss. I set my purse down on his desk with determination. "We need to talk privately." Something in my voice made him close his door quickly. The door clicked shut firmly. "What new information do you have?" "Lucy has been lying to people about money. She told investors things that are not true." David's face showed surprise, disbelief, and worry all at once. "How do you know this?" I opened my purse and spread papers across his clean desk. Bank statements, email printouts, 6 months of evidence I had been collecting secretly. She promised people their money would double if they helped her take my bakery. But the numbers she showed them are made up and impossible. David leaned forward in his chair, studying the documents. "Where did you find these?" "I have friends everywhere, Margaret. People talk, especially when promises sound too good to be true." The papers showed my customer list mapped like a battle plan. Green marks for people who supported me. Red marks for people Lucy had convinced. Yellow marks for people who had not decided yet. Too many red marks for my comfort. Johnson from the hardware store was already helping her. Patricia from the flower shop too. 3 others from the business association. David studied the names carefully. Margaret, she promised Johnson lower prices on baked goods for his store events. Based on what? Cheaper ingredients. She talks about using frozen dough instead of fresh. Cutting corners to save money. That would destroy everything we built here. The reputation for quality that took decades to earn. But people who want to save money do not always understand this important difference. David had been watching what happened at other businesses in town. Small business owner privileges meant he heard gossip from many sources. The information he had gathered showed a clear picture. Lucy had been very systematic and careful. Each person was approached with different promises. Johnson got cost savings. Patricia heard efficiency improvements. Others listened to speeches about modernization and profit increases. "She is selling them dreams," I said. "Profitable dreams that cannot come true." David pulled up emails on his computer screen. "Look at these income predictions she has been sharing with people. The numbers were too high, unrealistic, based on firing my best bakers and using machines instead of human hands. This is not improvement. It is destroying a good business to make quick money. Try explaining that to people who want to see bigger profits immediately." I spread my own financial records across his desk. 3 years of real performance. Steady growth, consistent profits, happy employees. "We have grown 10% every year," I said. "Our employees stay with us for an average of 8 years. Customer happiness scores are the highest in the county. But she is promising 20% growth through smart business changes." The phrase made me feel sick to my stomach. Smart business changes. Fancy words for hurting people who depended on me. What about Johnson? Can we change his mind? David leaned back in his chair. Maybe yes. He respects businesses that last a long time, but he is worried about missing chances to make more money. Then we remind him what happens to businesses that change too fast and lose their soul. I pulled out a folder marked competitor research. Businesses that had followed Lucy's preferred strategy of cutting costs and using machines. Most had failed within 3 years. Remember Corner Cafe downtown? David nodded with a grim expression. They fired all their experienced waitresses and used ordering computers. Sales doubled for 6 months. Then customers stopped coming because the service was terrible and the food quality dropped. Exactly. They are worth half what they used to be now. We spent the next hour planning our strategy. Which supporters could we convince to switch sides? What evidence would change their minds? How could we present our case without looking desperate or pathetic? The rain outside had gotten heavier. March in our town meant unpredictable weather. Perfect conditions for family battles. There is something else, David said quietly. Her legal help. Jennifer Cox. David had briefed me about her already. She is very good at winning. Aggressive in courtrooms. Knows how to put on a good show. Then we will give her a better performance. David's computer chimed with a reminder. Town council meeting next week. Regular monthly review of business licenses. She will make her big move there, I said. Unless we move first and surprise her. I closed my purse but left all the analysis papers spread across David's desk. Visual proof of our campaign and preparation. Schedule a meeting with Johnson, I said. This week somewhere private for lunch. What is your plan? Fear. Show him what happens to investors who bet against proven business leadership that works. David was already reaching for his phone, looking through his contact list. Wednesday works. The diner on Main Street. Perfect. Neutral location where everyone knows me. The afternoon light was getting dim outside. In 2 hours I had transformed from victim to fighter. Lucy wanted a war between us. She would get one. But she had underestimated her enemy. I had not built Miller's Bakery by giving up when things got difficult. I had built it by being smarter and more determined than my problems. David's law office felt like a safe place for planning battles. All wood furniture and law books and serious authority. I arrived 10 minutes early with my purse full of Steve's information and evidence. The secretary offered me coffee. Said yes. This would be a very long morning. Mrs. Miller. David appeared in his doorway. Ready for battle. His conference room had been changed into a war planning center. Lucy's lawsuit papers covered one wall. My defense materials occupied the opposite wall. Between them empty space waiting for strategy and battle plans. Show me everything, I said with determination. David lifted a thick folder. Lucy's official court filing. 38 pages of accusations, evidence, and medical suggestions. I read through pages of careful character destruction. Every time I had cried about missing Robert rewritten as mental instability. Every kind decision I made repositioned as poor judgment and confusion. She claims you have lost touch with business reality. Our profits increased 15% last year. But she says that happened because of changes she suggested, not because of your leadership. Classic rewriting of history with herself as the hero of the story. What about her proof and evidence? David pulled out a different stack of papers. 4 months of documentation. Meetings where you supposedly showed inappropriate emotional responses. Business decisions she labels as feelings over facts. The Wilson anniversary cake where you insisted on hand-piped roses instead of cheaper printed decorations. The employee Christmas bonuses. The decision to keep making everything fresh instead of switching to frozen products. All good decisions that made customers happy and employees loyal. All dismissed as emotional weakness and poor thinking. And her legal representation. Jennifer Cox. David's expression got darker and more serious. 29 wins in 33 competency hearings. She specializes in family business disputes where children fight parents for control. Meaning she knows how to make loving mothers look like confused old women who cannot think clearly anymore. I studied Cox's photograph on David's computer. Sharp features, cold smile. A woman who had built her career on destroying family businesses. Jennifer Cox is famous for turning court sessions into dramatic performances. Then we will write a better script and put on a superior show. David pulled out our defense strategy. Character witnesses, financial evidence, medical evaluations proving my mental sharpness and capability. I have scheduled thinking tests with 3 different doctors. Blood work, psychological evaluation, complete physical examination. Excessive but necessary. Cox will question your mental ability from every possible angle. The irony was painful. At 58 I was sharper than most women half my age. But Lucy had weaponized my sadness over Robert's death like a sword. She is claiming delayed grief response, emotional breakdown following spousal loss showing up as poor business judgment and increased crying and mood swings. Using Robert's memory against me. The calculation was breathtaking and cruel. What is our counter strategy? David smiled for the first time that morning. Turn her greatest strength into her biggest weakness. He spread out our own evidence across the conference table. Lucy's promises to supporters. Unrealistic financial projections and impossible profit margins. Email chains showing her 4-month deception campaign against me. We are filing a counter lawsuit for what exactly? Fraud against business partners. Conspiracy to steal corporate assets. Intentional causing of emotional pain and suffering. The last charge felt very personal, which it absolutely was. Will this approach work in court? It will force her to defend her own actions instead of just attacking yours. David produced a formal legal document. Our counter lawsuit. 20 pages of legal accusations wrapped in professional language that lawyers use. She will be very angry when she sees this. Perfect. Angry people make bigger mistakes and reveal their true intentions. I signed the papers with steady hands that did not shake. No trembling now, just cold determination and focus. When do we file these papers? Today before 5 o'clock. Cox will have copies by dinner time. The rain outside had turned to small hail pieces. March in our town was always unpredictable and sometimes harsh. Perfect weather for legal warfare between family members. One more important thing David said. The hearing date. March 22nd. 2 weeks from today. I calculated quickly in my head. Enough time to prepare our witnesses properly if we moved fast and stayed organized. Michael's assistant knocked on the door softly. Excuse me. Mrs. Thompson is here for the 2 o'clock appointment. Sarah entered carrying her own folder of important papers. The alliance was growing stronger. Ladies, she said with confidence. Ready to save our bakery. The 3 of us stood around the conference table looking at evidence of family betrayal spread across polished wood. Lucy wanted to play legal games with lawyers and courts, I said. Now she gets to learn that this game has serious rules and consequences. Outside, our town disappeared into gray mist and fog. But inside this office, clarity was forming like crystals. War had been declared by my own daughter. Positions had been chosen by both sides. Time to remind Lucy, who taught her how to fight for what she believed in. I arrived 20 minutes early, choosing a booth by the window overlooking the town square where my bakery stood. April in our area brought hopeful spring warmth. People walking dogs beneath trees with new green leaves. The coffee was strong and bitter. Appropriate for what I had to do. Lucy appeared at exactly 2:30 dressed in her black business clothes. Armor for battle. She looked around the restaurant before approaching our table, calculating who might see us and what they might hear. She sat across from me, keeping distance between us like a protective barrier. Thank you for meeting me. Your message said it was very important. I studied her face carefully. She looked tired and thinner than at our last dinner together. Carrying the weight of lies and deception was not easy even for someone as strong as her. How is Emma doing in school? Fine and good. Always asking questions about you. The words carried accusation and blame. I was the absent grandmother. The workaholic mother. The woman who chose business success over family relationships. And Mark? How is his new job at the bank? Her voice was carefully neutral and controlled. We were dancing around the real conversation like two fighters testing each other's defenses before the real battle began. "Lucy, why did you not come to me directly?" Something quick flickered in her expression. Surprise and guilt. About what exactly? She was still maintaining the lie and pretense. Impressive acting ability. About your concerns and ideas for the bakery. Your plans for changes and improvements. When I tried to talk to you, you were always busy with customers or recipes or bookkeeping. There it was. The heart of everything that had gone wrong between us. I built this business for you and your future. Her laugh was bitter and cold. No, Mom. You built it for yourself. I was just someone who happened to be there. The accusation hit me like a slap across the face. That is absolutely not true. Is it not? She leaned forward, anger breaking through her careful control. Every school concert interrupted by bakery emergencies. Every family vacation cut short for catering jobs. Every mother-daughter day cancelled because of wedding cake deadlines. Memories came flooding back like a river. Robert's disappointed face when I missed Emma's birth because I was finishing a huge catering order. Lucy's resigned acceptance when I could not attend her art school graduation ceremony because it was my busiest wedding season. I was working hard to provide for our family's security and future. You were feeding your need to be needed by everyone except your own daughter. Silence stretched between us like a wide, empty space. People walked by outside. Normal life continuing while we tried to repair 30 years of accumulated hurt and misunderstanding. I want to modernize the bakery business, but you resist all my suggestions and ideas. I want to preserve what actually works and makes people happy. What works? Her voice got slightly louder. Mom, we are falling behind other businesses. Bakeries in the city are using new equipment and methods. Our systems are old-fashioned. Our methods are from another time period. Our methods built something that lasts and serves this community well. Something that employs good people and feeds families. She pulled out her phone, showing me business articles and charts that painted Miller's Bakery as outdated and dying. Automation could make us 40% more efficient. New ovens could cut our baking time in half. Online ordering could bring customers from 3 counties. And eliminate half our staff in the process. Some positions would need to be changed. Destroyed. I finished her sentence. You are talking about destroying jobs and livelihoods. People who have given us years of faithful service and friendship. Her jaw got tight and hard. Business is not about friendship, Mom. It is about making money and staying competitive. When did you become so cold and calculating? When I realized that being nice does not pay the bills or secure the future. The words hung between us like a sharp knife, cutting through everything we used to be. This was not my daughter speaking anymore. This was someone else entirely. Someone I did not recognize or understand. Who taught you to think this way? You did, she said, meeting my eyes directly. Every time you chose the bakery over us. Every time you proved that business success mattered more than people and relationships. I felt something crack inside my chest. Not anger or betrayal, but sudden understanding of how badly I had failed. I never meant for you to learn that lesson. You never meant lots of things, Mom. She gathered her phone and purse, preparing to leave. But good intentions do not change what actually happened to our family. Lucy, please wait. She stood up, looking down at me with Robert's eyes in a stranger's face that I barely recognized. I am not the little girl playing with flour in your kitchen anymore. I do not need your approval or permission. I do not need your business or your money. But you want to take it away from me. I want to save it from your stubborn refusal to change and grow. She turned and walked toward the restaurant exit, high heels clicking against the tile floor. At the doorway she paused and looked back. Give Emma my love and tell her Mommy is working hard to make things better. Then she was gone, disappearing into the afternoon crowd of shoppers and workers. I sat alone with cooling coffee and cold understanding of what had really happened to us. My daughter was not just taking my business away from me. She was taking revenge for 30 years of feeling ignored and unimportant. And maybe perhaps she was right about some of it. The courthouse steps were wet with morning dew. I climbed them slowly, holding my purse and watching Lucy's legal team arrange themselves like hunters. Jennifer Cox stood in their center-sharp suit shining under cloudy spring skies. Lucy wore dark blue. Conservative and competent. The responsible daughter protecting family assets from a confused mother. She did not look at me or acknowledge my presence. Inside the courtroom buzzed with quiet, nervous energy. Business owners filled the seats. Local newspaper reporters. Curious lawyers drawn by family drama being played out in public view. David touched my arm gently. Remember, stay calm and peaceful. Answer questions clearly and simply. Judge Martinez called court to order. 60 years old, gray hair, reputation for fair and no-nonsense proceedings. Case number 2025-156. Miller vs. Miller's Bakery Incorporated. Jennifer Cox rose like a striking snake ready to attack. Your Honor, this case concerns an aging business owner whose judgment has become compromised by grief and stubbornness. She walked toward the jury area, gesturing smoothly. Performance art disguised as legal argument. Mrs. Miller has lost the ability to make rational business decisions. Her emotional attachment to outdated bakery practices threatens investor value and employee security. Papers appeared on screens around the courtroom. Financial charts, meeting transcripts, 4 months of carefully selected evidence. The plaintiff, Ms. Lucy Hanson, seeks temporary control to protect the business her mother built from her own declining mental capabilities. Cox's voice carried across the courtroom like honey covering poison. Professional, persuasive, and deadly dangerous. Then Lucy took the witness stand. My daughter. My brilliant artistic daughter, swearing under oath to destroy my life and reputation. Ms. Hanson Cox began softly and gently. Please describe your mother's recent behavior patterns. My mother is guided by emotions instead of business logic. Lucy's voice stayed steady and controlled. She makes decisions based on personal feelings rather than financial data and market research. Can you provide specific examples? The charity program where she gives free birthday cakes to poor families. Costs us $3,000 every year with no measurable return on investment. When I suggested stopping this program, she became very upset and emotional. Upset and emotional. Robert's memory of helping children reduced to a budget line item. What about business planning and strategy? She refuses to consider new equipment or modern baking methods. Claims it would destroy bakery tradition and community feeling. Meanwhile, our competitors gain customers through faster service and lower prices. Cox nodded with fake sympathy. How has this affected business performance? We are falling behind. Growth has slowed down. Efficiency numbers are worse than other bakeries in the region. Lies mixed with half-truths. Our growth was steady and sustainable. Our employees were happy because we treated them like family, not just workers. In your professional opinion, what does the business need? Fresh leadership and modern strategies. Focus on profits rather than emotions and feelings. The words hit like physical slaps across my face. This was not my daughter speaking. This was someone else entirely. David's questioning was sharp and precise. Ms. Hanson, what was Miller's Bakery's profit margin last quarter? 12%. And the quarter before that? 11.4%. So under your mother's supposedly confused leadership, profits are actually increasing. Short-term numbers do not show long-term problems. What about employee satisfaction? 96% of workers stay with us year after year. Industry average is 63%. So your mother maintains higher employee happiness than other businesses while increasing profits. High retention can mean resistance to necessary changes and improvements. David smiled coldly. Or it means exceptional leadership that people respect and trust. Cox objected loudly. Judge sustained the objection, but damage was already done to Lucy's credibility. Patricia Johnson testified next. Straightforward and profit-focused. We need leadership that puts investor value first. Ms. Hanson understands modern business realities better than her mother. When the morning court session ended, I felt completely drained and exhausted. Watching your daughter publicly attack your mental ability required strength I did not know I had inside me. But David squeezed my shoulder encouragingly. Phase 1 is complete and successful. Tomorrow we fight back with our own evidence. Outside, spring rain continued to fall. Lucy walked past without looking at me, surrounded by her legal team like bodyguards. My little girl who used to help me frost birthday cakes for other children. Now she could not wait for me to disappear from her life permanently. My assistant knocks softly on my office door. "Mrs. Miller, there is something you really need to see right away." Janet placed a folder on my desk marked Employee Communications Confidential. Her face looked grim and worried. Lucy has been holding secret meetings promising salary increases that would bankrupt our business completely. I opened the folder carefully. Meeting notes, email threads, 4 weeks of secret promises to key employees. 25% salary increases for all bakers. 40% raises for department supervisors. Vacation bonuses that did not exist in our budget. Where did you get all this information? People talk, Mrs. Miller, especially when promises sound too good to be true and impossible. Sarah Wilson arrived as I was reading the worst parts. Her expression matched Janet's concern. "We have a serious problem, Margaret." She dropped her own folder on my desk. "Lucy is approaching new investors. Restaurant owners and catering companies painting you as an obstacle to explosive growth and modernization." Sarah pulled out printed emails and letters. "Lucy promises employees 25% salary increases based on what exactly? Magic and wishful thinking. She is telling them automation will cut costs so dramatically that massive raises are inevitable and easy. The mathematics were completely impossible. Even new machines would not generate enough savings for her promised increases to everyone. She is lying to people about money. Gets much worse." Sarah turned on her laptop computer. "I have been watching internal business communications. Found something very interesting about her lawyer." Jennifer Cox's face appeared on the screen. Professional photograph attached to a news article from 2 years ago. Cox was punished by the Lawyer Association for coaching witnesses. Temporarily suspended from practicing law. My phone rang with David's number showing on the screen. "Margaret, I have evidence that Jennifer Cox broke professional rules and ethics." "What kind of evidence exactly?" "She coached Lucy's testimony word for word. Told her exactly what to say and how to phrase accusations against you. That is witness tampering and illegal behavior." The pieces were falling into place like puzzle parts. Lucy's smooth performance had not been natural confidence. It had been practiced and scripted like a play. More importantly, David continued, "I found financial problems in Lucy's account management." "What kind of financial problems?" "Lucy transferred money between business accounts without your permission or knowledge. For separate times. Total amount $32,000. The number hit me like ice-cold water. For what purpose? Legal fees, consultant payments, campaign expenses for her takeover attempt." I looked at Sarah. Her expression confirmed she was hearing this conversation too. "That is stealing money from the business. Technically it is unauthorized use of corporate funds, but yes, it is criminal behavior that could send her to jail." Sarah leaned forward across my desk. "This could completely change the case direction and outcome. More than change it. This could destroy her reputation and her future." The irony was bitter and painful. My daughter had wanted to prove I was incompetent by demonstrating her own criminal behavior and stupidity. I walked to my office window looking out at our town square. The place where Robert and I had dreamed and planned and built everything. Where our family had grown and loved and now broken apart. "David, how do we present this evidence?" "Very carefully. We do not want to look mean or vindictive, just competent and truthful. And Cox's ethics violations. I will file a complaint with the Lawyer Association immediately. Present evidence to the judge at the same time." Sarah was organizing documents across my desk. Financial records, employee communications, email chains showing Lucy's deception and lies. "The question is timing," I said. "Next hearing is Friday. Cox will expect us to defend again. Instead we attack with truth and facts." I studied the evidence spread across my office desk. 30 years of building a business, and my daughter had tried to destroy it with 4 months of lies and broken promises. But lies eventually reveal themselves when people look closely enough. Schedule meetings with our character witnesses. I want them prepared for aggressive questioning. Sarah nodded. Already scheduled. Patricia from the school district. Michael from the Chamber of Commerce. They will testify to your competence and her deceptions. What about the employees she made false promises to? Most are confused and worried. They trusted her, but the mathematics do not work out correctly. The late afternoon sun came through my office windows. April in our town could be beautiful when the rain stopped falling. I will go home early today, I said. Plan our presentation tonight. Sarah gathered her papers and documents. We have enough evidence to sink a battleship. Let us hope we can aim it in the right direction. After they left, I sat alone in my quiet office. The silence felt different now. Not empty or lonely, but focused and determined. Tomorrow we would remind everyone who built Miller's Bakery and why it deserved better than my daughter's desperate ambitions and lies. The courthouse felt different this time around. Tension filled the air like electricity as all parties gathered for the final battle. Lucy sat with Cox, confident from their previous performance. They had not seen what was coming their way. Judge Martinez called court to order with authority. Mr. Wilson, you may present additional evidence for the defense. David rose slowly and deliberately like a hunter who had found wounded prey. Your Honor, the plaintiff conducted unauthorized financial operations and illegal transfers. Cox jumped to her feet. Objection. This is beyond the original scope of the case. Overruled. Continue, Mr. Wilson. David approached the evidence table like a surgeon selecting the right instruments for a delicate operation. During our investigation, we discovered 4 unauthorized transfers from business accounts. Total amount $32,000. The number echoed through the quiet courtroom. Lucy's face went completely pale and white. These funds were used to finance Ms. Hansen's legal campaign against her mother without business board approval, without proper documentation, without any authorization whatsoever. David projected bank statements onto the courtroom screen. Dates, amounts, recipient accounts, all clearly visible. This constitutes theft of corporate funds and fraud against business partners. Cox was scrambling desperately. Your Honor, these accusations are desperate attempts at character assassination. Desperate. David smiled coldly. These are official bank records. Numbers and mathematics do not lie or have opinions. He turned toward Lucy. She looked smaller somehow. The confident business executive replaced by a trapped woman watching her world fall apart completely. Furthermore, we have evidence of witness coaching and tampering. Cox's composure cracked like broken glass. That accusation is completely ridiculous and false. Ms. Cox coached her client's testimony, provided specific phrases, emotional cues, strategic answers. We have audio recordings as proof. Judge Martinez leaned forward with interest. Audio recordings. Office security cameras with sound recording capability. Ms. Cox's coaching sessions were accidentally recorded during routine building security checks. The judge's expression became dark and angry. I want those recordings reviewed by court officials immediately. When my turn came to testify, I felt calm, centered, and ready for battle. Mrs. Miller. David began formally. How long have you managed Miller's Bakery? 30 years exactly. I started the business in 1993 with $5,000 saved from my teaching job. Current yearly income $400,000. Net profit $68,000. Employee count 12 full-time workers. Have you been declared mentally incompetent by any medical professional? Absolutely not. I underwent complete evaluation last week. Mental function tests, psychological assessment, thorough physical examination. All results were normal and healthy for my age group. David presented my medical reports to the court. Clean bills of health from 3 independent doctors who had no reason to lie. In your professional opinion, why is your daughter pursuing this legal action against you? I looked directly at Lucy. She was staring at her hands, unable to meet my eyes. She believes I have put community service over maximum profits. She wants to use machines and cost-cutting measures that would eliminate jobs and reduce employee benefits and happiness. Is profit maximization always the correct business strategy? Well, healthy growth requires balancing making money with employee satisfaction, customer loyalty, and community responsibility. How has this philosophy affected business performance over the years? We have maintained steady growth for 30 years. Employee retention exceeds industry standards by 30%. Customer satisfaction scores remain in the 98th percentile of all businesses surveyed. David nodded approvingly. I have managed this business for 30 years and know every recipe, every employee, every strategic decision that built our success. My daughter wants to sacrifice long-term stability for short-term gains that will ultimately fail. Cox's cross-examination was desperate and reaching. Mrs. Miller, is it not true that you have resisted modernization? I have resisted reckless change that would hurt people. Technology should serve business goals, not replace human connection. Your daughter claims you are emotionally unstable and unreliable. My daughter is young and impatient. She confuses passion with instability, conviction with stubbornness. She says you make decisions based on sentiment rather than logic. I make decisions based on 30 years of experience building something that lasts and serves this community. Cox kept attacking, but her arrows were missing their target completely. The evidence was overwhelming in my favor. Lucy had overplayed her hand spectacularly and obviously. When Johnson testified again, his confidence had completely evaporated. I may have been overly optimistic about projected returns and profit increases. Are you still supporting Ms. Hansen's leadership bid? Long uncomfortable pause. I am reconsidering my position based on new information. Cox's closing argument sounded hollow and unconvincing. Despite these new allegations, the core issue remains the same. Mrs. Miller's resistance to necessary modernization and change. But David's response was surgical and precise. The core issue is whether a daughter can steal her mother's business through lies, embezzlement, and witness tampering. Judge Martinez's face was like stone. Order in the court. Given the serious allegations of financial misconduct and potential ethics violations, this case requires additional review and investigation. Lucy finally looked at me directly. Her eyes were Robert's eyes, filled with confusion and fear. The court will reconvene in 1 week for final decision and judgment. As the courtroom emptied slowly, Lucy approached me carefully. For a moment she looked like the little girl who used to ask for bedtime stories. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did, sweetheart. It absolutely did. She walked away with her ruined legal team, leaving me alone with the wreckage of our family. Victory felt hollow when it meant destroying your own daughter's dreams. All rise for the Honorable Judge Martinez. The courtroom stood as one unified group. Business owners, lawyers, family members who had become strangers. I felt Sarah's reassuring presence beside me as the judge entered, carrying the weight of final decision. Judge Martinez settled behind his bench, papers arranged with careful precision. Please be seated, everyone. The silence was complete and total. 2 weeks of family warfare reduced to this single moment. In the matter of Miller versus Miller's Bakery Incorporated, I have reached my final decision. My heart pounded against my ribs like a drum. Across the courtroom, Lucy sat rigid in her chair. Jennifer Cox's hand rested on her shoulder. After reviewing all evidence, testimony, and documentation, the court finds no grounds for declaring Mrs. Miller incompetent to manage her business affairs. Relief flooded through me like warm sunshine. But it felt empty somehow. Furthermore, the evidence of financial irregularities and potential witness tampering raises very serious concerns about the plaintiff's conduct and behavior. Lucy's shoulders sagged forward. The fight went out of her completely. The case is dismissed. Mrs. Miller retains full control of Miller's Bakery Corporation. Sarah leaned forward. Justice has won today. But justice felt cold when it meant destroying your daughter's future and reputation. David shook my hand professionally. Congratulations, Margaret. Your competency has been completely vindicated. Vindicated. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. Across the courtroom, Patricia Johnson was already moving toward us. Opportunistic as always, switching sides. Mrs. Miller, I want to express my complete confidence in your continued leadership. Yesterday she was supporting Lucy's revolution. Today she was my loyal friend. Of course, Patricia. Business as usual moving forward. Jennifer Cox gathered her papers with mechanical robotic precision. Her career had taken a significant blow today. Lucy sat motionless, staring at her hands in her lap. The courtroom began emptying slowly. Reporters wrote notes. Business owners whispered new strategies. Normal people returning to normal lives after watching a family destroy itself publicly. But I could not move from my seat. Victory should feel better than this empty feeling. Sarah touched my arm gently. You did what you had to do to protect yourself. Did I? Or did I just prove Lucy was right about my priorities being wrong? You protected what you built, what we built together over decades. The bakery was safe, my reputation intact, the investors reassured. Everything I had fought for was preserved except my relationship with my daughter. Lucy stood up slowly, gathering her purse and jacket. Mark waited by the courtroom doors, relief obvious on his tired face. The terrible ordeal was over for him too. But she looked so small and defeated and broken. I made a decision that surprised even me. Lucy, I called out. She turned with eyes red-rimmed but no tears left to cry. This does not have to be the end of our story together. Something quick flickered in her expression. Hope or maybe fear. I lost everything today. No, you only lost a battle, not the war with life itself. Sarah was watching us very carefully. David pretended to organize papers while listening to our conversation. Can we talk somewhere private? Lucy glanced at Mark. He nodded encouragingly. Not here, she said quietly. Coffee somewhere neutral. I need time to process what happened today. Course, honey. But Lucy stepped closer to me. You are still my daughter. You are still talented. You are still capable of amazing things. Her composure cracked slightly. Even after everything I did to hurt you. Especially after everything you did. It took courage to challenge me, even if the method was completely wrong. She looked at me with Robert's eyes, confused and hurt, but seeing something new and different. I will call you next week when I am ready. It was not much, but it was a beginning we could build on. As she walked away with Mark, I felt something I had not expected. Not victory or vindication. Hope for the future. The bakery was mine. The family could still be saved and healed. And maybe, just maybe, we could build something better together. 7 days of waiting had led to this park bench overlooking the duck pond. The water sparkled in late afternoon sunshine. Our town's main street busy with spring shoppers. I had arrived early, needing time to prepare my thoughts. This conversation would determine whether we had a future together or just a legal past. Lucy appeared at 3 o'clock, walking slowly across the grass. She wore jeans and a simple sweater. No business armor or defensive walls. Just my daughter. Mom, she sat beside me, keeping careful distance. Thank you for agreeing to meet me. I have been thinking about what you said at the courthouse. The pond reflected clouds while ducks swam peacefully. People jogged past. Normal life continuing while we attempted to rebuild ours from nothing. Mom, I never felt like you were proud of me or my art. The words hit like physical punches to my stomach. Lucy, every painting you created felt invisible to me. Every gallery showing seemed less important than the next catering order or business meeting. I turned to face her completely. I was always proud of you. I just did not know how to show it properly. Dad tried to tell you. He said I needed words and attention, not just opportunities to work. Robert's voice echoed across 3 years since his passing. She needs your time more than the bakery does. Your father was wiser than I gave him credit for. I wanted to prove I was worthy of your respect and love. My love does not need proof, Mom. It is unconditional and always has been. She laughed bitterly. Then why did it feel so conditional? Why did every conversation become about work schedules and business problems? Why was the bakery always more important than I was? I stared at the water, watching ducks paddle toward the shore. How do you explain 30 years of wrong priorities and misguided choices? I built Miller's Bakery for you and Emma's future. Every early morning, every missed art show, every sacrifice, I thought I was providing security and stability. But you were also providing distance and loneliness. Yes, I was. The admission felt like releasing breath I had been holding for decades. I confused providing with parenting, success with showing love. Lucy's eyes filled with tears. I needed my mother, not a business owner. And I needed to learn the difference between them. Silence stretched between us. Not uncomfortable now, but honest and real. When I filed that lawsuit, I was not just fighting for control of the bakery. I was fighting for recognition that I mattered to you as a person. You have always mattered. I just showed it very poorly. She wiped her eyes with her sweater sleeve. I almost destroyed everything we had. No, you almost saved us both. How can you possibly say that? I stole money. I lied to people. I tried to have you declared mentally incompetent. You forced honesty between us. You made us confront what was broken in our relationship. The pond reflected afternoon clouds. Spring in our town felt full of new possibilities and second chances. What happens now? She asked. That depends. Do you still want to help improve the bakery? You would trust me with that after everything. What do you say about working together as partners? Lucy stared at me with wide, surprised eyes. Are you ready to trust me with part of the business? I am ready to trust you with the future of the business we both love. Her breath caught in her throat. Meaning what exactly? Owners. Your creativity and my experience. Partnership instead of war. You would do that after everything I put you through. Because of everything. You were right about some modernization. I was right about keeping our community focus. Together we could build something Robert would be proud of us for creating. Lucy stood up, walking to the pond's edge. I watched her think about the proposal, seeing Robert's thoughtfulness in her movements. Full partnership. Equal authority. Equal responsibility. Mother-daughter leadership team. She turned back toward me. What about Emma? She gets the best of both of us. And our employees. They will respect the Miller name. Both generations of it. She walked back, sitting closer this time. Have some conditions. Name them. Full honesty. No decisions without talking first. Some new equipment. Employee profit sharing. Agreed. My conditions. Keeping our community spirit. Gradual changes, not revolutionary ones. Family time protected. Weekly dinners. No business talk during Emma's homework time. Dad's memory honored. Lucy smiled for the first time in months. I held out my hand. Partners. She shook it firmly. Partners. Then she surprised me by leaning forward, hugging me tightly. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. I always have.